Whether it was the slow start, the defensive struggles, or everything in between, I mean everything, Sunday was a rough one for the Commanders in Atlanta.
A lot to fix before they head to L.A. That's this weekend. Team insider JP Finlay joins us live in studio for his thoughts on the loss and, of course, looking forward, what lies ahead. JP?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of good thoughts from that game. I was down there in Atlanta, and there were a lot of burgundy and gold fans. All they wanted to do was cheer their team on, and all that happened was Bijan Robinson just about dominated the game, went for almost 200 yards from scrimmage. You see him barreling in there for a touchdown. Defensively, they were a mess. The secondary really, really struggled. They really struggled just in simple things like tackling. This is Bijan going on a 70-yard pass catch out of the backfield. Credit to Jeremy Reeves for running him down. Reeves was clocked at running about 22.5 miles an hour on that tackle, but they scored on the next play, so it kind of was for naught. Listen, Atlanta's offense got what they wanted. These secondary problems have been recurring. I just asked Dan Quinn a moment ago, hey, at what point do you have to consider maybe we try something else? He said they're not there, but 4 games in is a pretty significant body of work. Here's another big problem that Dan Quinn said last night. When they go on the road, their last 2 road games, they have these really slow starts. The Falcons were able to move down the field early, and Washington's offense early in this thing. This is the first play of the game. Deebo Samuel, little end around. That's -3 yards on the first play of the game. That's not the way to start. That's not the way to start on the road when you're trying to gather momentum. They had a 3-and-out on their first drive. Washington's offense was 1 of 8 on 3rd down in Atlanta. You're not going to win many games, especially on the road when you're 1 of 8 on 3rd down. Defensively, they weren't very good on 3rd down either. They went to Atlanta with the #1 3rd down defense in the NFL. They didn't come home with it. Now, there were some bright spots. Chris Rodriguez ran really hard yesterday. The run game has been good. You know, Mariota played pretty well, especially for a backup quarterback. Luke McCaffrey, 2nd straight game with a touchdown. Mikey Samerstill with a nice interception. There were some bright spots, but it just wasn't enough to overcome a defense that completely let this team down. But, Erica, there might be good news on the horizon.
Please.
Okay? We're all waiting. There's one player that can make a pretty big difference when he's on the field. Credit to Mariota, who's played very well, but you want to get Jaden Daniels back on the field. So we've got our get well soon card for all these injured players, right? Jaden Daniels, first and foremost. Dan Quinn just said Jaden had a really good workout over the weekend. They're going to have a specific plan for him to practice this week. My gut tells me Jaden's going to play in L.A. against the Chargers. Remember, he's a Southern California kid. This game probably means a lot to him. Then you got a pair of receivers. Noah Brown has missed the last 2 games. You'd like to get him back out on the field. This guy, number 17, Terry McLaurin, a very important player for this Commanders offense. I'm not as optimistic that Terry's back this week, but they did not put him on IR, which means they do think he'll be back within 4 games. Percy Butler is a guy that you might not think about, but they really could have used him yesterday. The coverage is problems were significant. And then John Bates has been so good as a run blocker. You like to think maybe you get Brown and Bates back this week, maybe Butler, but it all starts with this man. You need Jaden Daniels back on the field. He is such a difference maker. Mariota's been good. He's arguably the best backup quarterback in the league. You go to Atlanta yesterday, you score 27. The offense did their part, but until they clean up some of the issues on defense, they're in big trouble.
What the heck is Marshawn Lattimore doing? Since you're telling the truth on Monday, JP.
Yeah. Listen, Lattimore did not play well in Atlanta. He's been up and down really since he's arrived in Washington. But at the same, I want to be crystal clear. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. Lattimore did not play well in Atlanta. But at the same time, I'm not sure schematically they're doing a ton to help him. Anytime the opposing offenses are running motion pre-snap, Lattimore doesn't seem to be able to get around that laterally, especially when the wide receiver has a running start to get into a route. And you saw Michael Penix, the Atlanta offense identified that, ran it over and over again. It's something Green Bay did 2 weeks back. There's problems in that secondary. They can't get to the edges, and then the seams open up. Then they try to cover the seams, and they can't get to the edges.
Brian Mitchell says this is roller coaster over season. Where do you side on that with your colleague there?
The NFL is generally a week-to-week league. Think about the Chargers, Washington's opponent this upcoming week. The Chargers were 3-0, looked like one of the best teams in football. They go to New York to play the 0-3 Giants, and they lose.
How?
The Giants are starting a rookie quarterback for the first time ever. Go back 2 weeks ago, Green Bay looks like they might be one of the best teams in football. They go to Cleveland to face the 0-2 Browns. They lose. So there is a volatile nature to the NFL. That's what makes it such an exciting sport is you never know what's going to happen any given Sunday. But the problem for me with Washington, the thing I would pinpoint is that these coverage issues, specifically on the back end defensively, these big plays, these are recurring. This isn't volatile. These are happening. Sometimes their offense is able to overcome it, or they play good football elsewhere and the opposition can't get the run game going. But defensively, the coverage situation seems like a real problem.
This is the consistent thing.
Yeah.
All right. JP Finlay, thank you, JP.
Thank
Did I make you feel better, on?
It does. You know, always talking to you makes me feel better.
That's what I'm here for.
We want to know what you think about the Commanders' 2-2 start. I'm not giving hope yet. All these injuries, so tell us, how panicked are you right now? That's the question right now at NBCWashington.com/vet.
Okay. Mostly.
We're more on the relaxed side.
Not the people calling into my radio show. They're not relaxed.
Panicking?
You got to keep in mind, it's a 17-game season.
Yeah,
We're four games into it. There's a lot of football left. Got to clean up that secondary, though.